Welcome to another edition of Just Read It. Today we're going to be discussing The Tuscan Child by Rhys Bowen. I'm guessing at her name, how she pronounces it. But I have with me two wonderful local writers, Portland, Oregon. And I'm going to start at my far left, Jeff. I'm going to ask you to, Jeff Stookey, if you would tell us a little bit about your book and your writing, and we'll move on from there.
Okay. I've written a trilogy of novels called Medicine for the Blues. The first volume is Acquaintance. It's a gay love story set in Portland in 1923 during the time that the Ku Klux Klan was becoming very influential both throughout Oregon and across the country.
Wonderful.
So it's very topical.
So you've done the first of, I thought you had done another.
I've done three.
Yeah.
All three are out.
So all three
so
are
this is the
right.
first one in the trilogy.
So today you're encouraging our audience to start at the beginning.
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
that's a plan. All right, my second guest is Myrlin Hermes. She's a Reed graduate like me, but obviously a generational difference. But Myrlin, what's on your plate?
I have The Lunatic, the Lover, and the Poet. It's a prequel to Hamlet based on Shakespeare's sonnets, a bisexual love triangle that incorporates a lot of Shakespeare plays and quotes.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thematic guests here today.
Yeah, we were talking earlier.
Okay. Well, all right. The Lunatic, the Lover,
And the
the
Poet.
Okay, all right. So I shouldn't bend down like that. Everybody forgive me, but it looks lovely. It's a great book. I've read part of it, and she's a classy writer. And I've not read yours yet, Jeff, but I'll make amends on that.
Looking forward
Okay.
to it.
Well, today, as I said, we're talking about The Tuscan Child,
Yeah.
which takes us to Italy, glamorous Italy. Who doesn't love Italy? I'm going to start with you, Jeff. What can you tell us a little bit about the book and how you felt about it?
Yes. When you invited me to talk about this book, you suggested it wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, which is true. I never read romance novels or romantic mysteries, I guess is where you might place this one. But I did enjoy it, and I probably wouldn't have read it if you hadn't asked me to. It starts off with a bang with Hugo Langley, who is a Royal Air Force pilot during World War II and is downed behind enemy lines in Tuscany. And he's helped to survive his crash by a young woman from a nearby town. Then in the second chapter, we meet his daughter, who is Joanna Langley, who is struggling to start her career as a lawyer in London, this in the 1970s, early 70s, and her father dies suddenly, and she's called to their country home where she grew up to wrap up his estate, and in the process, she discovers this entire mystery about his background that connects him to this small town in Italy.
And she thinks, because he mentions our beautiful boy, am I right, that she thinks her dad's had a cookie on the side, which in fact he has. But and so the story unfolds. So it is a back and forth kind of accordion thing. How did you like the structure of the book, Myrlin?
Well, I mean, I found it an enjoyable read. It was a quick read and easy, and I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but I didn't feel like there was anything terribly surprising or memorable about it. The dual timeline structure is very popular in historical fiction now, as is World War II, and it felt very much like that sort of book.
That followed the guidelines, right?
Yeah. I at the Historical Novel Society conference last time I was there, I attended it. An agent says that when she reads manuscripts, she likes to think of the Target reader, by which she means the grocery store Target, and the reader who is in the aisles and picks up the book and will throw it in the cart with the groceries. And I was thinking about that as in general in the publishing industry today, that there is sort of this sort of book that is kind of a staple grocery. You know what you're going to get, and I kind of feel like there, in terms of a romantic drama, there's not a lot of heat in it. I don't know if I'd call it a romance, because I think of that as something that has a lot more
ripping the bodice.
Right. I think there's one sex scene that's or not even a scene, a sort of embrace and fade to black. There wasn't a lot of heat or blood in it for a romantic drama, I felt.
It did. Did you? I thought it was just a cut above a grocery store. I mean, because there was a poignant love relationship, particularly between the father and the woman who saves his life. What did you think?
Right. I think the historical part of it was probably what fascinated me the most, although I liked the back and forth structure of it. It kept me reading, it kept me interested, because in each of the two tracks you would find out a clue or as to the past in one chapter, and then in the next chapter you'd find something else. And so that held my interest right through to the end, because I was continually wondering how all these pieces of the puzzle were going to fit together. But in terms of the relationship between the father and the daughter, and the fact that they were so estranged, and she does come to understand him better, and then she has her own backstory, which is rather touching, I think.
Yes, so it would you agree with that, Myrlin? That maybe lifted it a little bit?
Yeah, the tension between them, and there's a little mystery of her trying to figure stuff out that is revealed. And I agree that at the beginning it hits the ground running, much as Hugo hits the ground after he ejects from his plane. I felt like after that it was kind of slowed down a little bit, though. There's a lot of his plot that's basically just him in hiding, sort of waiting for Sophia to come back and bring him things.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of action in it, that there wasn't a lot of dynamism in terms of the characters driving the plot. In both plots, I felt they were more reacting to stuff that was happening.
Well, now I have to disagree with you there. I thought the father is, she takes him to a monastery, and that's where they discover great art, and they...
But it's a ruined monastery,
Right.
and there's no one living there.
No, that's right, and she hides him there. And his scenes of endurance, the cold, the loneliness, the hunger, and then here is this wonderful Italian lifeline who brings him spaghetti, of course, what else? And so his personal isolation, you can sort of understand why he was kind of separated from his daughter, that these were worlds that just did not... Did you feel that at all? Or?
So you're saying that the most interesting relationship is the one that we don't ever get to see directly, really, which is between the father and the daughter, that as she starts to understand him more, we kind of get a glimpse of the relationship that they might have had if he were more open to her.
Exactly.
In his life.
Had he not been so closed off by that war experience where she dies, I don't think he knows that, but he, and he escapes. He finally, truly, truly escapes. But I wanted to ask you, because again, not to say anything about your book yet, which I've yet to read, but you are such a lovely writer of prose. What did you think of Bowen's?
I thought it was very readable. It was engaging. I felt like, again, I was missing some of that heat or the sensuality, particularly in the second part when Joanna comes to Italy and she meets Paola, who teaches her to cook, and it felt like that should have been a real sensual awakening for her. And it is to a certain extent. She enjoys this time, but I didn't feel like the description really brought out that real, feeling the Italian cuisine. You're told, okay, she chopped up the garlic and added the artichokes, but I felt it was a little bit bloodless. Throughout.
Well,
I didn't get that sense. I mean, there's a wide tradition of the repressed Brit goes to Italy and experiences it's
Especially when you've got this tall hunk.
Right. Exactly. But it like I said, it felt like, of course, there's the tall, dark, handsome Italian hunk who was fascinated by this British woman because it's that sort of book.
I want to close on asking you one quick question. The one thing in the book that didn't quite, the villain, we won't say who he is, but the villain comes after her. So there's he tries to kill her. I never figured out why he thought she was a threat to him. Did you sense why he thought she would be the one to discover that he betrayed the entire village? And turn them over to the Germans. Well, actually, it was a priest who actually did it. But
well, I don't want to give too much away
Yeah,
because
that's the
that's
trouble.
what kept me reading to the end. And
Yeah.
there are various betrayals in the story.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I don't want to give anything away.
All
But
right.
I
You can whisper in my ear afterwards. Okay, we need to bring this to a close, and it's been fun. I mean, anything Italian, son, why not?
It was enjoyable and diverting. Like I said, it was a fine way to spend a few hours. I don't know if I'll remember it very long afterwards, though.
I'm waiting for her to come out with the cookbook next.
Yeah, now that would be one. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are hanging, I'm sure, to know how we feel about this. We vote on this, Jeff. You've not been with us before.
Right, I've watched your videos.
Oh, good man. Red is for just read it, so recommend, and blue is for boo, don't read it. What's your recommendation?
Well, I think it's a fun read, and I think anyone who loves romances and travel and mysteries will enjoy this book.
Okay, all right, Myrlin.
Like I said, I have mixed feelings. If you have a few hours to kill, you could do worse, but I'm not going to be telling all my friends they have to go out and read it.
Hard lady, beautiful writer, she's going to be demanding. All right, I'm sorry, I'm going to just say, listen, everybody needs a little sunlight and Italian love. Red. 2-1, ladies and gentlemen, you make the decision, and come back next time and join us for another session of Just Read It.